Now, it was a big night for British boxing last night, both inside and outside the ring, after Derek Chisora lost a world title fight against Vitaly Klitschko in Munich. He was involved in a brawl with rival David Haye. German police are now questioning Chisora and looking for David Haye. Well, let's bring in the boxing promoter, Frank Maloney, who joins us here in the studio. Frank, you're looking at those scenes. What do you think?
I was shocked and sort of ashamed of it for British boxing. You know, if I wasn't involved in the sport, it would be laughable the way it was. And the cynical ones of us in the sport would say it was a set-up to promote a fight somewhere down the road, because it could have been stopped, I believe.
You believe that brawl could have been stopped or prevented?
Of course it could have been stopped. We as people, as professional sportsmen, know the fighters we handle. We know their personalities. We know how explosive they are. If you know Derek Chisora is an explosive personality, why would you let him lead the top table? His trainer was there, his promoter was there, his security men were there. So to me, it looks like it was a set-up.
Right, that's very interesting. I mean, you talk about their personalities, and in an environment like that, and David Haye coming from the back of the room, is it inevitable that they're going to explode? Or have the boxers that you've worked with been professional enough and humane enough to realise that this is a different environment and you don't behave like that?
Well, I'm very lucky. I've worked with some very good professional fighters that know how to handle themselves in public, and we talk about it if anything like that has happened. You know you have to sell a fight, so you can go to certain boundaries, but there are certain boundaries you can't cross, and last night it was crossed. And David Haye was to blame as well, because he was there to work for a TV company, so he should have been there in a professional capacity, not in a capacity throwing out challenges, insulting a fighter that has just fought for the title. It was an absolute fiasco. You say
the boxers that you've been around, is it then largely or a lot to do with the people they surround themselves with, the boxers I'm talking about? If you've got somebody alongside you all the time that says, you're fantastic, you can beat anyone in the world, you're this, you're that and the other, they have such an inflated self-ego that they think they're invincible and that they can do anything.
Yeah, but there's a behaviour pattern. Sportsmen are role models. Last night was not role models. What we saw last night was thugs, like street gang culture, which is bad for our sport. Our sport is portrayed as one of the most disciplined sports there is, and it's a sport that's used to bring kids off the street. Now, the gangs last night will be watching that saying, this is great, these should be our leaders. It's a disgrace.
And Chisora, of course, has got previous from the weigh-in, where he gave him a slap.
And in the ring, just before the fight, he spat in one of the Klitschko brothers' face, and he squirted water over another one. You know, so they know the character of Chisora, and Chisora's got previous to that. So people know his personality.
Frank, the police are involved. The police are talking to him. They're looking for David Haye, apparently. They can't find him in his hotel or at the airport at the moment. Yeah, funny, but also quite worrying. What should the boxing governing bodies be doing? Should they ban them? Should they...
Well, for one, David Haye does not hold a licence anymore at British.
So they can't do anything?
Board. They can't do anything to David Haye, but I do believe he has a seconds licence, so they may be able to deal with him on that. But if he reapplies for a licence, they can do something. Chisora, I believe, should be banned and heavily fined.
Do they need to send out a message as well to the likes that you were talking about, gangs of people that will see this and go, well, hey, they're heroes, aren't they, for having this street brawl in a news conference? Should they send out a message, a public message to people about the nature of boxing and how professional it is, and that these things are not acceptable?
Yes, I think it should. A message should be sent clearly that this is not acceptable in our sport, and it's got to be stamped on. In any sport, never mind just boxing, football, anything like that, things like this should be stamped on, because sportsmen are role models to younger people.
Frank, a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks for coming in. Frank Maloney there.
These guys are trying to build this sort of image up, a type of Mike Tyson type image. But to do that, you've got to be able to fight like Mike Tyson. Well, these two definitely can't fight like Mike Tyson.